All right, welcome to how to get 10, 20, 30 plus recommendations on every single presentation, how to walk through the recommendations with the customers with confidence, how to not come off like an A, for being a little too pushy, or being a pushover in the way that you ask for it, and right, how to direct your customer to get those 10, 20 recommendations because, well, I think we can all understand if you're watching this video, recommendations are really important, if not way, 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 way more than any Cutco sale ever is, right? Because if you get a no sale, you need recommendations. And if you do make a sale, you need recommendations. Where no sales, they'll happen, but recommendations and not getting recommendations, that's not an option, right? And so this is why we're here, and this is what we're going to be covering as far as understanding the mentality and really how to properly ask your customer, because you have the words, right? But how are you asking, right? And then as well, understanding that, memorizing that, and then we'll go through as far as the technical end to making sure your customer feels clear and you feel confident walking them through to go ahead and jot them down now and not later. Because if you're here, you've probably started to realize that, well, they're probably not going to be emailing them or texting you them later, right? So, the first thing we got to understand is that recommendations is the lifeblood, right? We need to get them during, right? And this is where we use recommendations as the measuring stick to truly the quality of the presentation, to understanding, well, did Miss Jones really feel comfortable and confident in recommending you, right? Because it's not a Cutco thing. It's nothing other than their understanding and their feeling of when you called them, set up the presentation with them, did the presentation, sold them, and then asked them, right? And so they have to feel comfortable and confident in recommending that process. And that's what recommendations really is and what it means. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to walk us through the actual script. I want you to follow along with this. And moreover, you're going to hear exactly how I'm saying it, right? The pacing in which I go through it. And I'm going to make sure you understand the technical end and how to make sure that you're getting them during and not getting them after. So to share my screen here, we're going to go ahead and look at this. If you don't have this approach, you're going to go ahead and ask your manager for the approach. And guys, I want to make this really clear. You can go ahead and see this right now. Pause it if you want. But so that approach, that's a paragraph. That's shorter than the Pledge of Allegiance, right? We're talking about that one paragraph of the entire 45-minute presentation that really sets up how many more presentations you get to continue setting up, right? So if there's anything out of the presentation, how quickly can you memorize this approach? Right? How quickly can you memorize the words that create a sustainable business for yourself? Right? And so going back into this, now hearing the words. Miss Jones, how'd you like my demo? All right. Well, there's one more very important part. Here's where you can really help me out. I get paid every time I show Cutco, and I can only show to people I've been personally recommended to. So what I need you to do what we need to do is jot down 200 to 300 people. No, I'm completely kidding, Miss Jones. Just 10 to 20 that might be nice enough to take a look. I'm not necessarily looking for people who you think would buy, just people nice like you to take a look. And so the way the sponsorship works is that every 50 sponsors I get, the company gives me $150 worth of Cutco I can use to pay for books and tuition and whatnot at school. And all you have to do to be a sponsor, Ms. Jones, is just get to the first level at 10. And if you get to 20, you become a double sponsor and you count twice towards a sponsorship. And so I have a sheet to type them into. So go ahead and help me jot them down and help me jot down as many as we can. And so, Miss Jones, what everyone does is they pull out their phone and they choose one person from each letter in your contacts, A through Z. So we'll do the names first and then we'll do the numbers. So who's the first one? And again, thank you so much. I really appreciate your help. Who's the first one, right? And so coming up for air on this one really quick, guys, another big key really is, well, when are you asking? Are you waiting till everything is done? No, right? You're going to go ahead and close the sale. You're going to ask them for the gifts and accessories per the manual. If anything, go ahead and pause the video right here. Go watch that gifts and accessories video and come on right back. But you need to ask them while the iron's hot, because the same way people buy emotionally, not just Cutco, but everything emotionally, they buy you emotionally. They recommend you emotionally, right? There's got to be that energy and they have to have that desire, right? And you got to get that energy going for them. And as you saw when I was going through it, some of you are probably sitting there right now watching this and, oh, there's no way he says it just like that. As someone that has gotten 100 recommendations from one customer, from a guy that has gotten multiple, triple, quadruple, sextuple sponsors, where, sextuple being 60 from one presentation, what I can say is that this is exactly how I say it. I very much overly emphasize it and I go really slow. There's one more very important part, Ms. Jones. Here's where you can really help me out, because I get paid every time I show Cutco. This is how you get to the sponsorship, right? Make it really clear, keep it really simple for them. But how do you do that? You got to memorize it. You got to memorize it as fast as you can. And the sooner you do is the sooner you start getting a lot more recommendations. So now we're going to go ahead and wrap this up with, how do you actually show this to the customer? Well, you're going to go ahead, you're going to be on yourcutcodemo.com, or you're going to share it with them. And so then you, with your Zoom, right, you'll be able to just scroll right down, slide 17, recommendations, help me hit my goal. Now, this is not a slide or a link you give them. This is not something they do by themselves. This is not something they do later. This is something you do during. And the mentality to have during this, guys, the mentality to have is, if you don't get it then, why would you, the Cutco kid, be the priority after the presentation has ended, when they have their own kids, their own families, their own lives, their own homes, their own bills, their own everything else? Why would they take out more time when they already gave you theirs, right? So understanding that, go into it. And then you can go ahead and click on this, and then it'll show them, right? And as simple as it says right here, right? Now, you can go ahead and have your manual up, right? So if I go ahead and share my screen, you can see how I have it set up right here. But so I'll have my desktop as normal, right? And I can have my manual here while I technically share just this screen. My manual is right here, right? And so with that, the customer will see this. You're going to put in your name, and you'll be able to email yourself all of this at the end. And so you'll go through and you'll get their names of their friends first, like Susie, right? Jessica, right? Marissa, right? Kelly, Michael, Joseph, Alexandra, Luke, and Alex, and Alejandra, Christina, and you're gonna get all the names, right? And so now let's say that once you get here, you're gonna go ahead and just go right back, right? You wanna get as many of the names first, and then you can go right through very easily, collect the numbers, right? And that's gonna be simple across the board. Now, eventually, when you go ahead and ask, your customer will either do, one of two things. They're going to get you to just below 10, or they'll get you to just above 10. Whatever it is that they get you to the first time, Guys, you got to understand that if that's what they got you to the first time, that's obviously not everything. That was just the first wave. So just like anything, you have to ask again, right? You have to ask again and say that you get to 12, Ms. Jones. You got to be thankful. Ms. Jones, thank you so much. I really appreciate it for you helping me get to this first level. Is there any way that you can just help me get to that next level? And I get to count you as, a double sponsor. I get to count you as a triple sponsor, right? Always motivating them and pushing your customer to the very next level, right? And so from there, now, if for whatever reason you're not on Zoom and you can't be screen sharing in this way, well, take it old school, just like how it's done all the way through and how we've always gotten recommendations. Pen and paper. Pull out your notebook, and instead of I have a screen, right? Instead of saying I have a screen right here, instead of I have a sheet to type them in, just go ahead and say I have a pen. I have a paper. Help me jot down as many as we can. And what everyone does, right? You want to direct them. And it's the difference between being a pushover and just remove and having the weak language of, hey, anyway, maybe, possibly, sort of, could you somehow remove that. But you also don't want to be super aggressive, like, hey, Miss Jones, you have to go ahead and give me these. No. Keep it simple, but keep it forward, keep it direct, keep it clear, right? This is how you get 10, 20 plus recommendations, get them sent to you, get them during, and all the words, all the music to make the songs. All right, hope this helps.